Would you say that St. Mike's is culturally diverse?
I wouldn't, no.
In St. Mike's being culturally diverse, I would have to say no.
Once you're here, you either fit into the community or you don't.
For me, I would say white privilege is the kind of innate privilege that people have in this country and across the world for being white. So it's not necessarily something that you're even aware of, and that's also one of the privileges of white privilege, is you don't notice that you're white, you don't know that you have privilege.
I think of the term of white privilege just as in sort of unconscious, and it's not even a fault to anyone of just a privilege of that it's not easily recognized because it's just a natural privilege that you're just born with.
It was put like this by a scholar who I can't remember off the top of my head, but like an invisible backpack of just things that white people always have in their backpack that like they can just pull out to gain access to like certain institutions or jobs would be like another example. But like the whole idea of white privilege is that like being white you can't really see it. I would say that I also have cisgender privilege because I appear pretty male, and then male like hetero privilege, like white gay male privilege, just to throw out a few.
White privilege is something that I believe white people cannot talk about.
I think that I am definitely exposed to a lot of privileges that I don't necessarily deserve, and I think that a lot of white privilege has to do with confronting those privileges and being aware of them.
Sometimes in terms of being part of the queer community on campus, I think that there's a bit of a blockade in terms of having celebration of queer students. There's a lot of bureaucracy, but I haven't felt actively targeted by anyone on this campus.
I'd say like the time that sticks out is when we did the die-in for Black Lives Matter, and we went through Alio and we did like the protests, like chants, and we were very vocal. I wouldn't say we were disruptive or rude. I would just say we were like calling attention to a problem that's pretty prevalent already, and it was very tense, and I got some looks and some kind of disgruntled opinions that were kind of muttered like behind my back, and that was something where that was the first time where I really felt any like animosity or anything, and there have been like subtle microaggressions where people are pretty subtle about not wanting to hear about certain things, but this was like outward, like people did not want to hear about this.
I don't have to worry about, like I said, how people perceive me because of my skin. But however, I was participating in the die-in and the Eric Garner protest, if you want to call it that. And I remember laying on the floor, and I'm sure people weren't doing this intentionally, but I did get kicked a little bit. And so I think people, not that they weren't being respectful, but like it's almost like they didn't care enough to move out of the way. And I remember this kid, and I was so angry. He was like, "This is not the time or place," because it was Saturday morning brunch. And I was so angry because like you get to say that because you're white, you get to ignore it. And like, so this is exactly the time and place to do it, but it was almost like no one really cared.
I think it means having an appreciation for other people and where they come from.
Cultural diversity is funny because I think that people talk about it as if it's something that, I think that like white institutions talk about it especially as if it's something that they want to create, but like cultural diversity already exists, so it's just not in these institutions.
I think one of the biggest things that can be done is having discussions about it, including things like this in the classroom.
Actually actively trying to do it on purpose is what the school needs to do, so basically affirmative action.
Like the fact that the threes exist, and the threes, I mean, I just to be explicit for this, is like this party corner that pops up on the weekends, and it's like, not everybody likes that. Like for a lot of people it's an uncomfortable scene, but like even still we like to talk about community, and I think that one way that St. Mike's could probably be more inclusive is by like deconstructing these images of community that kind of even precede students arriving here.
I think one of the main things is opening up that dialogue, opening up a conversation. I'd say like doing more of that and not shying away from big issues. maybe doing more panel discussions, something where we can keep up with current events as they're happening, so we don't kind of get lost in this bubble effect that often seems to kind of like plague us. It can be good, but then it can be really bad.
The people who are involved and emotionally invested in exposing privilege and expanding diversity are already involved. They're already the ones who know what's going on and want to fix the problem. It's about reaching out to people who are blind to the world around them and really engaging the people who need to listen and need to open their eyes to this kind of thing.
And I think, I don't know, I think we need to really talk about this more. And I think we need to talk about not just the targeting of the African American community, but also the Latino community, because I think that gets left out a lot. And I think that's a community that people don't really think about. And so to really get change going, we need to change everything.